definitely been wanting a breakdown of episode 6 of House of the Dragons, and what better people to go to than the kings and queens of the breakdown, which is New Rockstars. Check this out.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Boss, and this is a breakdown of House of the Dragon episode 6, where our cast grows up so fast, the kids are not alright, and Ladybug Laris is loose. So much to break down, no time to waste, let's get started. And really the first thing to point out, HBO's new banner poster for this series features Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy with the giant dragon Vagar behind them. Its golden eye has the iris slit in the shape of Aegon the Conqueror's dagger, a dagger that will literally come between these two women next episode. Now since we've jumped forward 10 years, the opening title's bloodline imagery has a ton of updates. Where before we saw Viserys and Emma's dials, now we see Alicent's dial on the high tower green side in the far background, with 4 branches snaking down for her children, Aegon, Helena, Aemond, and we don't see him in this episode, but there is a 4th kid on the way at least, Darren. In the foreground, we see a new bloodline flowing into a new dial for Daemon Targaryen, depicting his dragon-winged helmet. Blood flows from that to a blue-colored dial behind him, which we then see a close-up, depicting the braid of Lyanna Velaryon, Daemon's new wife. Her bloodline flows to 2 blue-ring dials with dragon eggs in each for their twin daughters, Rhaena and Baela. The dial depicting Rhaenyra's Valyrian steel necklace now branches off toward an engraving depicting dragons over a fleet, but major detail here, her bloodline is connected with another dial on the far right, and that is not a Velaryon dial, that is a dial of Sir Harwin Breakbone Strong, with the 3 rivers of the House Strong sigil representing the green, red, and blue forks of the trident, because obviously Rhaenyra's sons are Harwin's kids. And this river of blood also forks into 3, Jacaerys or Jace, Lucerys or Luke, and Joffrey or Joff. All 3 of these have a pale blue ring, since they are Velaryons in name, but their symbols are all their own, and will have greater significance as this story unfolds. Miguel Sapochnik returned to direct this episode, since with the new cast, it's pretty much a second pilot for the series. Whereas episode 1 featured Emma's tragic childbirth sequence, this episode opens with Rhaenyra's. And notice, Sapochnik shoots this in an excruciating, unbroken 3-minute take, though he might have hidden a cut in the quick pans or when something breaks the frame, but still, this take, followed immediately by another 2-minute and 40-second tracking shot through the castle, has the effect of centering us on Rhaenyra's pain, delivering that child, and then immediately having to go on a long walk all the way to the Queen's chamber. If you think about it, the reason Rhaenyra does this walk is she knows who the father is, she knows Alicent wants to check the hair color, and she does not want to part ways with this baby in case its hair color exposes him and her other 2 sons to the sword. She's not taking any chances. And really, these opening minutes occur in real time with the new Prince Joffrey's life in this world. We open on Black as he crowns, and we see how he spends roughly the first 8 minutes of his life. Last episode ended with the death of one Joffrey. This episode opens with the birth of the boy named after him. But the moment the baby comes out, notice the nursemaid's reaction.
Boy, princess. Praise mother.
Yeah, her face says it all. She's reacting to the color of the boy's hair, a dark brown, like both of his older brothers, because as this nursemaid knows, this is another bastard and more royal drama to follow. Now, one of the things I love most about fantasy is the epic scope of everything. You're not just facing off against another knight for your honor, the fate of the realm is at stake. Of course, in my day-to-day life, the stakes are much smaller, like whether or not I could fit another Gimli figure on my collectible shelf. Now, obviously, that's super exciting, but sometimes what you really need are those big, epic fantasy level stakes, and that's when I bust out my phone to play Lord of the Rings, Rise to War. Lord of the Rings, Rise to War puts you in the middle of Middle-earth, controlling vast armies to conquer Dol Guldur and claim the ring. Lord of the Rings, Rise to War has all of my favorite parts of strategy simulation games. There's a strategy involved in how you gather your resources, how you manage your resources, and which factions and fellowships you join to increase your power. Little decisions like which commander to pair with which army, or which resource tile to acquire next, can make huge decisions on a grand scale. It's so much deeper than just being unstoppable on the battlefield, and that's what really sets Lord of the Rings: The Rise to War apart from other strategy simulation games. And that's on top of appearances from Aragorn, Gimli, Legolas, and a ton of other of my favorite characters from the Lord of the Rings. This is the best time to get started in the Lord of the Rings: Rise to War, and if you use the link in the description or scan this QR code, you'll get a limited Hobbits Adventure Package. Hit the link and support New Rockstars by downloading this game. It's that easy, just click the link in the description and I will see you in Middle-earth. Rhaenyra and Laenor's walk through the castle again, a nearly 3-minute unbroken shot, is impressive mostly because it shows how large of an interior set they actually built for this show, with a grand staircase that actually leads to a higher level, which is really rare in TV shows. Normally the stairs just kind of go to nowhere and then they cut to a different set where they're upstairs. But Sapochnik wanted to inhabit this set properly and introduce the characters at an older age by forcing us to spend some time with them.
The moment Rhaenyra gives birth until she meets Alicent was not in the original script. I thought, well, if we're going to have this set, I would like us to inhabit it properly, which is why the opening actually follows our characters in a single continuous take all the way through.
This guy, Lord Caswell, congratulates them.
If I may be of any service.
The day may yet come, my lord.
Yeah, Lord Caswell will play an important role in the conflict to come as a supporter of Rhaenyra, so she will call in that favor. And guarding the Queen's door is Sir Criston Cole, who inexplicably managed to keep his job in the King's Guard despite murdering someone on these two's wedding day, including assaulting the groom, which just goes to show how little the Crown really cared about Laenor and his Night of Kisses. It really goes to show how powerful Alicent has become. The fact that they have to pass Sir Criston at the doorway here likely is what led to Laenor naming that boy Joffrey after the guy Sir Criston killed. It almost seems out of impulse to force the Queen and her bodyguard to remember this name. King Viserys joins them, looking like mid-montage Smeagol, one hand short of the comfort level I would need to give a newborn to.
A fine prince. Sturdy. You will make her fearsome knight.
Sturdy, or another word for strong. Outside his chamber, Sir Criston now has his back to them as they pass, the ultimate cold shoulder. Rhaenyra says,
You don't think to consult me before you name my child.
He's our child, is he not?
Only one of us is bleeding.
this and Rhaenyra saying Laenor has not been interested in her affairs as of late. Yeah, not exactly subtle. Neither is the literal trail of blood leading back to Criston and the Queen. Just a reminder that those blood rivers in the opening titles aren't just about succession, they're about the bloodshed that comes with it. Rhaenyra finds her sons Jace and Luke back with their real father, Sir Harwin.
We chose an egg for the baby.
Ah, that looks like the perfect one.
I let Luke choose. Thank you, Jace.
Yeah, that little thank you from the younger brother to the older, and the way that the older brother grabs his brother's hand to keep him from getting burned. These boys aren't total shits, at least not yet. There's just something to be said for mixing non-Valyrian DNA into this bloodline. In the dragon pit, Jace meets his dragon, Vermax, whom he and the Dragon Keepers command with high Valyrian words like Mbas, meaning hold, and Dohaires, meaning serve, as in Valar Dohaires, all men must serve. You'll notice Alicent has dressed her sons in Hightower green, whereas Rhaenyra's sons wear Valarian blue. But none of these kids wear the Targaryen colors of red and black. Jace successfully binds with Vermax, who torches a lamb. Now, Aegon is already binded with his dragon, Sunfire, and Jace's younger brother, Luke, has already binded with the dragon that goes unmentioned here, but in the text, it's Arrax. So as the oldest, who's gone through this a couple times, Aegon yawns at Vermax, and it is clearly his idea to prank Aemond with the Pink Dread, a play on the dragon, Balerion, the Black Dread. So Aemond, humiliated, wanders deeper into the pit, where he runs into a chain of dragon, and right as that dragon begins to breathe fire, you can see its scales are a pale blue color. This dragon is Dreamfire, the bluish silver she-dragon whose eggs Daemon stole one of in episode 2. This is the dragon that will bind with Aemond's sister, Helena. We meet Helena, who has a case filled with beetles and moths and scorpions, and she fawns over a millipede.
It has eyes. I don't believe it can see.
And why is that so, do you think?
It is beyond our understanding.
I suppose you're right. Something's just
Yeah, this series is doing something different with Helena than in the text. I think we're going to learn that Helena is a green seer and or a warg. You remember green seers like the three-eyed raven, they can see into the future. Wargs can transplant their minds into animals. Both are associated with the magic of the children of the forest, and the faces in the weirwood trees are believed to be how the green seers are able to do their green seeing. Just notice how Helena's words are deeply prophetic.
Aemond.
What have you done?
He did it again.
They said they found a dragon for me. The last ring has no legs at all.
You will have a dragon one day.
He'll have to close an eye.
I know it.
Yeah, book readers know what he'll have to close an eye refers to, and we're gonna see it next episode. But I think the last ring having no legs could be a reference to the Green Seer King, Bran the Broken, a kid who Helena would get along great with. Because Helena says that each ring has 2 legs, 60 rings creating hundreds of legs, which I think is a metaphor for each generation of rulers needing a king and a queen, the bloodline being the leg to the next branch, as every episode of the series has begun by showing us. This line of succession is going to continue to the last ring of the story, Bran, someone who cannot walk. And Sansa says that he cannot bear children. Therefore the wheel, or in this case the ring, is broken. Helena says the millipede has eyes but cannot see, and I think that's just her way of saying these rulers are cursed with literal eyes but don't have the proper vision of green sight. But she likely does, and so does Bran, and maybe so do others in this story. Remember, Helena's dragon will be Dreamfire, and I think she inherited the Targaryen skill that Viserys wishes he inherited from his ancestor, Daenys the Dreamer. In this case it is Helena the Dreamer. Viserys Viserys' pathetic model train set of Valyria has expanded now with various structures topped with stone dragons like the one Alicent gifted the king. I love how Sapochnik frames that V-shaped insert in the tall structure so that a background torch is perfectly framed in the valley of it, creating the illusion of a volcano, like one of the volcanoes that destroyed old Valyria. Alicent questions the parentage of Rhaenyra's sons, and Viserys sends away a stonemason who's named Eddard, a meta-nod to Eddard Stark in Game of Thrones, who spent most episodes on a paternity crusade of his own that also involved a bastard named Joffrey. Alicent says,
To have one child like that is a mistake. To have 3 is an insult.
and as she says this, notice the hilt of Aegon's dagger is right by her hand, foreshadowing a move she will make with that dagger next episode to act on this suspicion. But Viserys refuses to see the truth. He compares this to a black horse he once had that bred with a white stallion, as silver as the moon on a winter's night, producing a fall the color chestnut.
Nature is a thing of mysterious works.
Yeah, you can't see a parallel with his expectation of a silver-white stag, just to find an unremarkable brown one. I think that was the episode when he really gave up on trying to read into signs and portents. Sir Criston calls Rhaenyra the C-word, and Alicent says,
I have to believe that in the end, honour and decency will prevail.
followed by the most ironic jump cut to Aegon making a mess out the window. Ah, the things we do for love. And the fact that Alicent doesn't really react to him doing this suggests that he might be doing this all the time. But really, the bigger concern for Alicent is the preservation of her bloodline.
You are the challenge! You are the challenge, Aegon! Simply by living and breathing!
The way all of their dials are pre-engraved into the stone in the opening credits shows how these characters are really destined to be in conflict with their relatives the moment the bloodline flows into them. They don't really have much control over what's ahead. Over in Pentos, Daemon rides his dragon Caraxes, but finds himself in the shadow of a much larger one, Vhagar, written by Lyanna, who actually referenced Vhagar in episode 2.
But Vhagar still lives. Somewhere. But too large for the dragon pit. The work's a spice town report during her song at times. They say it's a sad thing.
Yeah, Vhagar's sad song might foreshadow the dragon's repeated losing of her lady riders. If you think about it, Lyanna's first and final word of this episode is Dracarys. Vhagar is the largest living dragon currently, who was once ridden by Visenya, Aegon the Conqueror's sister wife. Notice how Vhagar's wings have holes in them from old age, and I love how they just used the scale of Lyanna's body on Vhagar's saddle compared to Daemon on his saddle, just to convey Vhagar's immensity. Prince Reggio Horatis says,
Lamb hearts are excellent.
yeah, remind us of that roasted lamb heart that the dragon Vermax ate earlier. We learned that the Triarchy has joined forces with Dorne, and Reggio wants their 3 dragons for defense. Daemon considers it, but Lyanna doesn't want to be used.
We are not minstrels or mummers who play at the pleasure of an alien prince. We are the blood of old Valyria.
Mummers is essentially what they were earlier, putting on a dragon fire show for the crowd, and Daemon may be remembering his own 2 small parts in the Mummers playback in King's Landing in episode 4. Sir Criston oversees a sparring session in the yard with the boys after his mother's warning. Notice how Aegon has gone from yawning to swinging hard on that dummy. Jace shoulder checks Aemond, and Aegon pats Luke on the shoulder. It's an interesting contrast in the status and respect among these 4 kids. Aegon, the oldest, and Luke, the youngest of the 4, were the first 2 to bind with dragons, leaving Jace and Aemond with this rivalry, both of them avoiding being the last one to bind to a dragon. Sir Criston puts Jace and Aegon together.
Eldest son against eldest son.
Yeah, Lionel's reaction says it all. He knows Jace and Luke are secretly his grandsons, and he doesn't really like how Sir Criston is setting up this conflict, putting it on display for everybody. During their fight, Aegon shoves a dummy over on Jace.
I'll deal with him.
Yeah, we hear Sir Criston's advice to Aegon, but not what Sir Harwin says to Jace. They never want to get suspicious. So Sir Criston takes it out on Jace by letting Aegon go crazy on him. And when Sir Harwin complains about it, he dickishly drops his sparring sword for Harwin to have to reach over again and pick it up. And Sir Criston taunts Harwin.
Most men would only have that kind of devotion for a cousin or a brother. Or a son.
Aegon's hair is blocking his face, but he is flashing a wide grin under there. And as Harwin is dragged away by punching Criston, Aegon continues to smile in shock, showing how this kid is old enough to get the subtext. And he's probably going to continue to use this against his cousin. Lannister comes in singing with Sir Carl Corey, who immediately sobers up when he sees Rhaenyra in the room, because Carl probably knows what happened to the last of Lannister's male lovers when he overstepped. This guy has a smarter head on his shoulders than Joffrey did, just keep an eye on him. Lannister drunkenly rants about the chance to fight in the Stepstones.
He says there is a tyrant general, a giant. They say, dyes his beard purple and wears women's frocks.
Yes, this Tyroshi general is Recalio Rendu, described by George R. Martin as one of the most curious and flamboyant rogues in the annals of history. I don't think we're going to meet him on the show, but I'm glad he got mentioned. Lyanna shames Daemon.
You spend your time here, in the library, reading accounts of the same dead dragon lords whose legacy you claim has no hold on you.
Didn't know I was being so minutely observed.
Remember earlier, Lana caught him teaching Bela how to speak Hyperlyrian, so despite his prodigal exile in Pentos, his dragon legacy keeps calling him back. At the small council meeting, both Rhaenyra and Alicent now join, each with their own punch card ball. They discuss a dispute between the Brackens, the Blackwoods, and the Riverlands. Those are the long warring families whose young lords dueled at Storm's End at the beginning of episode 4. They mention Lord Grover Tully. George R. R. Martin actually named Lord Grover after the Muppet Grover, along with Grover's grandson, Elmo, and great-grandsons Kermit and Oscar. I'm not kidding, those are actually their names. Alicent says to leave this as a local matter, but Rhaenyra presses on.
And yet, the Brackens and the Blackwoods will use any excuse to spill each other's blood. This dispute bears looking into. There will be conflict if no other items drawn for generations.
That's as easy enough.
Yeah, already showing a difference in the leadership style between these two queens. One wants to be hands-on and preemptive, deal with problems immediately. One is more passive and wants to stay out of these conflicts. Lionel tries to move on to Tyler Lannister's Stepstones report, but he still reacts to Alicent's hostility, and poor old Lyman Beesbury just struggles to keep up.
So I think the Blackwoods have the upper hand. We've moved on to the Stepstones, Lord Beesbury.
Yeah, we got a new Archmaester, Orwyle. We actually saw him last episode. He was a kid then who recommended an herbal remedy to Melos. The fact that Melos is gone now might actually be the reason Viserys has been alive the past 10 years and still able to walk, because he was not looking good in the last episode. It just shows that it's really Melos' treatment that was holding him back. The new Master of Laws is Jasper Wilde, nicknamed Iron Rod. Some say because of his unyielding respect for the rule of law. Some say because he desired 29 kids. Rhaenyra starts to apologize, and while all the others sit, Alicent does not. Rhaenyra offers Alicent to marry Jace to Helena. Really the nicest of her boys to the Green Scene Bug Girl. A niece to a bastard uncle. Not great, not terrible. And if her dragon Cyrax gives more eggs, she offers to Daemon his choice of them. So Alicent's response is really grounded in stubbornness and a personal grudge toward Rhaenyra. Instead of hearing her out, she shuts her down as a hormonal mother.
Rhaenyra.
Alicent says to Viserys,
She feels the air washing away with feet, and now she expects us to ignore her transgressions and to marry my daughter to one of her plain featured sons.
yeah, she almost said to one of her bastards. And she goes on.
You may do as you wish, husband. When I am cold in my grave.
And I like how the staircase railing separates this married couple in the frame. Lionel Strong tries to resign, but refuses to verbalize his reasoning. Alicent has to make giggles at her when she passes. Alicent probably sees this as another reason to feel paranoid. The whole crown is laughingstock now that the strong rumors are going around. We learn that Lord Larys Strong has been sort of a master of whispers for the queen, learning that his father and brother are headed to Harrenhal. He recruits a murderer, a deviant, and a traitor to the crown for a mission. His king is marked with his sigil, which, according to HBO's properly stated, is a firefly. They actually designed this cane head so that it looks like the firefly is stuck in tree sap. Kind of like John Hammond's Amber Cane in Jurassic Park.
But a little jolly circus you've created, Lord Larys. Spare no expense.
Now, if Larys is so smart, I don't know why he'd show his face to these criminals instead of using like middleman, or why he'd mark these arsonists with roaches of the same firefly sigil on his cane. Meanwhile, Lana struggles to give birth, and the surgeon says,
Could my open the womb try to remove the infant by way of a blade, but I cannot say for sure whether it lives or it mother survive.
but Lana hears this, and she pushes away, intent on not suffering the same fate as Emma. So she orders Vhagar to Dracarys, giving herself the Dragon Rider's death. Arwen says goodbye to the boys and to Rhaenyra.
Only a stranger when we meet again.
Now, he means a stranger to his boy, but it's also a signal that he's about to meet the stranger, the one of the seven who represents death. Jace cuts to the chase.
So strong, my father. Am I a bastard?
You are a Targaryen.
Of course, she doesn't say yes or no, but she's pretty much signaling that Jace is true, because Rhaenyra has given up trying to keep this secret. She tells Laenor that they are leaving on the midnight train to Dragonstone, but she tells him he can bring Sir Carl, who ends a scene by sliding a dagger in her cheek. Lionel and Harwin Strong burn alive in Harrenhal, which was a mystery in the book that readers have ascribed to Daemon, maybe the ghost of Harrenhal, but now we learn it was orchestrated by Larys and his firefly mutes. His voiceover posits that children are a weakness, a way for people to try to form a legacy beyond death, but it ultimately leads people to make poor choices.
You may know what is the right thing to be done, but love stays the hand. Love is a downfall.
Maybe this is just me rereading Fellowship of the Ring right now, but this reminds me of an exchange between Gandalf and Frodo about Gollum. Frodo says, "What's a pity that Bilbo did not stab that vile creature when he had a chance?" And Gandalf responds,
"Pity? It was pity that stayed his hand. Pity and mercy, not to strike without need."
And he goes on to say,
"My heart tells me that he has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before the end. And when that comes, the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many. Yours not least."
The idea is similar here. Letter says love stays the hand, and that because of love, people make blind choices that shape the fates of many. This series is, at its heart, about how love stays the hand and dooms us all. But that ultimately is just the mysterious nature of things. The closing montage shows the burnt remains of Lena and Harwin, Rhaenyra's lover, and Daemon's lover, the lovers standing in their ways toward each other, both claimed by fire. Viserys still holds on to Emma's ring and he kisses it on his finger, but he sees a rat spying on him from this room. This rat keeps showing up again and again. He was spying on Rhaenyra from the skull of Valerian the Black Dread as she snuck out of the castle. He spied on Alicent from her bedpost. He was weirdly sipping on Joffrey's blood during Rhaenyra and Laenor's wedding at the last episode. YouTuber Joe the Magician posted a fascinating theory that Larys Strong might be a warg or a greenseer. Larys somehow knew that the Archmaester brought Rhaenyra the tea. Larys might be warging into that rat to spy on everyone and gather this information. He did it in that meaningful moment with Alicent by the Weirdwood Tree, and their home of Harrenhal is situated beside the God's Eye Lake, which has the Isle of Faces in the middle that contains a grove of Weirdwood trees. It is a hugely spiritually significant location in Song of Ice and Fire lore that we have yet to visit in live action, and I think we actually see that island in this episode in the wide shot of Harrenhal. Larys' sigil of the Firefly could connect with Helena's interest in insects, maybe something he instilled in her as he nurtures her green seeing abilities. To top it all off, the writer of this episode, Sarah Hess, actually said about Larys in the Inside the Episode Featurette,
he's a player and he's looking into the future and seeing what she is going to be.
Larys ends this episode fondling that same red flower from Bravos that he brought up to Alicent in the Godswood last episode, talking about how an outside species of flower could grow so well here inside the castle. We thought he was referring to Alicent. Really, he was referring to himself, how he is growing strong. On one end of the series is a clear destination of the well-documented Dance of the Dragons and which Targaryen's going to win it all at the end, which of them are going to die. But on a deeper layer is some additional lore and mythology that's not really touched on in Fire and Blood, and I'm so excited to explore that. This show is doing a good job keeping both people who read the book and didn't read the book invested. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EABoss, following Rockstar, subscribing to Rockstar for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.
I really love this episode because it opens up a lot more as far as the dynamic of how we're going to be leading into the Dance of the Dragons. But just for me watching it and not ever reading the books, Sir Kristen's a dick. You know what I'm saying? Sir Kristen's, I feel like, is going to get his comeuppance sooner rather than later. I would love to see him and Daemon go at it, and Daemon getting the best of him just when Daemon returns to be on Rhaenyra's side. So I can't wait till they open up, because I know it's going to be a lot more Targaryens basically fighting each other and picking sides between Rhaenyra and Aegon. So I'm like, yeah, it's going to get really, really interesting, and I really can't wait. It was so sad to see Lena die at the hands of a dragon rider's death. That was really touching, because she was like, I'm not going to go through what Emma had did with the king. So it's like, no, I'm not. And she said it earlier, like, I don't want to die on, in somebody else's country. I want to be home. You know what I'm saying? So I can't wait to see what is going to happen. I really feel like Daemon's going to bring the two girls back to Corlys for them to raise them, because Daemon's like, hey, look, raising kids ain't really my thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but all in all, I really like this tone moving forward as far as House of the Dragon, because everyone's older, the kids are getting older, so now we have a lot more dynamic and how it's going to be a house divided. So I'm here for it. So, you guys enjoy my reaction to the House of the Dragon episode 6 breakdown, Easter eggs and everything we missed from New Rockstar. Subscribe to them, subscribe to my channel, post a comment down below, and like the video. It's your boy, D. Dyson. Peace.